The average person in the United States is checking their phone 96 times a day. There's also studies showing that there's a strong correlation between how much someone uses social media and how strong their symptoms are for anxiety and depression. Now, I don't think that this is solely just concentrated to social media or phone usage. I think that we're surrounded by constant media all the time, and it's really difficult for us anymore to even have real interactions with other people. I think a lot of this is taking a massive toll on our mental health. When I was growing up, I had one household that I could play video games at, have the internet, and have all that stuff. And then the other household, I couldn't do any of that, and that was on the weekdays. Now, I could watch TV, and there was still a little bit of that stuff, but I had no phone, no internet, and I couldn't just constantly play video games. And personally, when I was doing that, I had, all sorts of little hobbies like skateboarding, biking. I was basically friends with every single kid on the block. And a lot of the time, their parents would even have to force them out of the house from playing games and things like that. And then when I went to the other house, I was basically just on video games all the time. I didn't really do a whole lot of that stuff. And it really was this interesting dichotomy in my life of these two separate parts that were totally different. And now I've come to appreciate the usage of these types of media in my life and really the value in toning them back. I've actually experimented with even taking a year off gaming, and I have even kind of a cringy video of me about 6 months into that. And really, the strong effect of that was a lot more free time and a lot more mental clarity that I just hadn't had before. Now, I think someone could still play some video games and still get a lot of these benefits. And lately, I've actually read this week the book Digital Minimalism, which has kind of helped me refine my ideas around how I want to interact with technology. And I want to share some of the ideas that I've implemented over the years and some of the ideas I got from this book to help you regain a lot of your mental health and really just have a better relationship to technology. One of the first things that really you're going to want to do getting into something like this is really experience what it's like to cut this stuff off. Now, the book itself recommends a month. However, I think that someone could do this in about a week. And this would be cutting off all non-essential, electronic usage. So if you need something for your work or something like that, of course you can continue using it. However, if it's not essential, you would cut it out. And that could be like TV and, video games, extra internet usage, YouTube, whatever it might be. And what this is going to do is push you a lot into finding new leisure activities, which is what I would highly recommend anyway to complement this, because you're going to have a lot more time the more that you integrate this into your life. And I'm not fully just advocating living a whole life of not having these things. I'm going to give some tips on reintegrating them as well. However, what will happen is that when you specifically cut off this stuff for a long period of time, you'll start to see that there's a lot of stuff that wasn't actually giving you benefits that you thought it was. Now, personally, like lately, I cut off a forum for just 1 week. And before I would think that I needed to be on there all the time because I might get like some really good information or there might be some real big benefit of checking it daily. And this would eat up a lot of time. Sometimes it could be even 20 to 60 minutes a day, sometimes even maybe a little bit more if I was really having a lot of time spent that day. And at the end of this week, what I really found to notice was that it was basically the same. I had a little notification thing where I could go back and check favorited posts by users that I want to read the stuff that they post. And within about 20 or 30 minutes, I was able to easily go through that and look at all the posts that I wanted to see. And now I can just wait until next week. I don't have to sit there and constantly be on that to get that value that I thought that I needed. And you might find this with like Instagram, Facebook, and all this type of stuff that you might even actually feel a lot better. Like I noticed that my own mental clarity and mood started to improve even just taking a specific week and cutting out all of the extra fat for even just 1 week. Now, you're going to want to sit down and actually weigh out the value of the things that you've been doing. So, if you found that, Facebook or Instagram or something like that wasn't beneficial at all, then you should make an extra, effort to completely just remove it entirely. That's what I would recommend. And then, maybe there's something that's right in between. And that's something that you would want to modify your usage with, which I'll still get into a little bit later. Now, when it comes to finding new leisure activities, I think something like reading books is excellent. That's what I like to do, especially when I cut out the gaming for a year. It was really easy for me to even read a book a week. And I was reading books like large biographies that were even close to 1,000 pages. That was much easier to do. And it actually felt better doing it when I had cut all that stuff out. It was really hard for me to compete with a stimulating game. And the reality of it is that when you're reading something like a book, it feels a lot more satisfying, like once you've completed doing that, versus like if I just sat and played video games for the same equivalent of time. And that's not to say that, video games can't be fun or even sometimes rewarding. It's just that it really makes the overall quality of that leisure time just much more satisfactory. Now, one big thing that I got from the book was to add more time in solitude. And really, anymore, we're just spending a lot of time with someone in our ears with headphones. They're telling us about their ideas and their lifestyle, or we're even just, we're reading a book or we're reading a blog, or we're watching something where someone's telling us how to live and do things in our life, or someone else's ideas almost all the time, constantly being bombarded with that kind of stuff. And personally, I already had the habit of spending about 30 minutes a day walking in, just silence to myself without headphones, just leaving my phone at home. However, I've started to amplify this practice a little bit more by even doing tasks like my meal prep that takes about 2 hours and just not having headphones in during that time. And I find that really it gives me a lot more time to think and contemplate about my own life, think about decisions that are big and important to me. And really it gives me a lot more mental clarity, and I don't seem to have like as big of an itch as I did before to like constantly, get to something, or like I got to listen to something, or I got to be hearing something that's, something's got to be going on all the time. And I find that it's actually really peaceful to this not being the case. Of course, I still enjoy a lot of this stuff. I think just putting a little bit more time to solitude really has a huge amount of benefits. Now, another big piece to really trying to get a bit of this digital minimalism into your life would be making a concrete plan and really sticking with that plan. So, if I want to view those forum posts every Monday, then that's going to be the day that's going to be set for that. And I could even set a time. Maybe I'm only going to allow 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., and then that's it. And I think that it's important that you can have those low quality leisure items and just try to set more focused time, because a lot of the problem is that there's a constant distraction available, especially like on the computer or even on a phone, that makes it a problem when you're just trying to normally use the device. And I think in general with phone usage, it's good to even, I would say, remove all social media and all distractions from the phone if it's possible. That's personally what I've done on mine, and I've made it just solely a camera, which is what I need it for, and video, which is what this is being filmed on, is that phone. And it does have the eBay app. I do need the eBay app, and I do find that that is even still a bit of a distraction. I like to check my feedback and, constant offers. So it's kind of finding a balance there. You can even actually set certain times on your phone where notifications can come in. You can even do that with certain text messages and things like that. So you can only get text message notifications once every hour instead of constantly. And you might find that this is really keeping you off of your phone and, just more into your life and more just, into what's going on around you instead of just a constant the world trying to connect with you through your phone all the time. Now, I've had a lot of gains by changing my computer usage. I've actually set up a entirely separate user account on my computer that is specifically for being concentrated. And I put all the apps that I have to use on there. So I have to use eBay, and I have a listing tool for eBay on there. And then YouTube is actually favorited as the Yoga with Adriene page instead of just YouTube. So when you normally click into YouTube, there's all sorts of videos trying to grab your attention. So I have it saved to just her because when I wake up, I'll want to do yoga after I meditate. And I find that if I get on the computer and I log into the normal account, there's a fair chance that I might spend 20 to even 40 minutes looking at a bunch of stuff, or maybe a video comes up or something comes up and distracts me. So if I have this separate user count set up, I find that it's really helpful and it makes me a lot more focused. And it really helps with work a lot too. So I have Adobe Premiere and Photoshop and stuff that I'm going to use to create videos specifically just in that user. So when I'm on that, I can't just go check my email because that's not logged in. I can't go to that form. That's not logged in. It would take a lot more effort for me to actually have to go and do those things. Now, on the computer as well, some of the changes that you could make would be you could try that favoriting technique that I mentioned, which would just be to get you straight to what you want. And there's also a lot of nice Google Chrome add-ons that are really helpful as well. There's one called Blocksite, which I'll have a link for in the description below. And I use this one kind of differently than what it's intended. I actually can change how I would use a single site. So I still need to use Facebook for my business, right? I sell products. It's pretty useful for me buying and selling products, finding things like, inventory sources. So what I've done is I've used Blocksite and I've put the URLs in from stuff like Facebook Gaming, Facebook News, Facebook Friends. And what happens is I could still go on Facebook. I can go on the marketplace. Unfortunately, the main news feed is there. I couldn't get that blocked and still be able to use the marketplace. And the groups are still open because sometimes I'll do a little research in there. And what it does is it really just makes it super focused. So if I clicked on someone's profile to look at their profile, it would actually block me from doing it. And it would come up and say, oh, this is a blocked site. And if I went to the gaming or video, the same thing would happen as well. So you can actually alter a site and make it a higher quality version and less distracting than it originally was intended. There's also an application called Freedom. I think it's limited by Freedom, and I'll have a link for that one down below. I didn't find this one quite as effective because you'll end up just kind of bypassing it. At least that's how I feel in my experience. It basically will set a time limit and then it'll come up kind of like Blocksite. So you can do 5 minutes on Facebook and then it'll tell you, okay, your 5 minutes are up. I found that inevitably I would end up bypassing it, or I would say, oh, I need to keep using Facebook for something real quick. And I'd have to disable that thing, and then I would end up coming back and wasting more time, and then it wouldn't block me out of it again. So I didn't find that one quite as helpful, but it is still pretty helpful. And a big thing too is really just removing sites from your favorites that are distracting. So then you have to consciously type them in. I found that gives me a moment to pause before I would actually get distracted and go right into the site. And that has really helped me avoid a lot of the extra usage that would maybe be a little bit unnecessary. A big thing too with social media and just, our internet age is really we're losing a lot of contact with other people. And personally, I know during this, time where maybe we can't go out as much or people aren't meeting as much, it might be a little bit difficult, but you can try to find groups where you can interact with people a little bit more and make more time to actually interact with friends instead of just texting them as much or doing things like that. Actually try to call them and do those types of things. And this will actually benefit your mental health and your relationships a lot. I think a lot of our, low quality forms of communication is really what brings a lot of this loneliness, which can, bring more depression and anxiety type symptoms to people. And I think joining a group in general can just be really beneficial, especially if it's something you really like. I've been in Toastmasters for a few years, and I found that that really helped me a lot in terms of my own, need for connection with other people. I think that that's just a basic human need that you have. And I think having groups like that is really just beneficial to your overall mental health. Having a place where you can easily connect and it's regular. And I've personally been thinking about joining groups for like reselling to help me improve my business and things like that. You might have some hobbies that you want to check out that would really help. And I know fitness is like a big one. Some people like to go work out with other people, things like that. That can be pretty big and helpful for really just your overall, social life and just your well-being. Now, personally, I've tried to find a way to balance stuff like maybe playing a game. So I basically right now I've cut out playing games by myself, which I probably still will maybe play a little bit. And what I've done instead is that I only play video games with friends and make it a social activity that I can enjoy with them. And you can do this with, watching Netflix or, just watching TV or whatever type of media activity that you like to indulge in. You could just have this be something that you do only with someone else. And I think this makes it a lot higher quality than it would be if you were just simply doing that by yourself, watching a bunch of Netflix or something like that. I think it makes it so much more enjoyable to connect and communicate with someone else. And I think with that same note there is just making those specific times where you are going to indulge in those activities, I think is still important. I think that having that balance is good. It's just being in control of it. So if you are going to, just say, oh, well, I'm going to watch, Netflix with, your girlfriend or boyfriend every single day of the week and spend a bunch of time, well, that's not really going to be a high quality usage of your time. You want to set still a limit to that. Maybe you want to do it every Friday and, maybe every Saturday. Those are days that you like to go do that. I think that overall, coming in and initially taking all of this stuff out is going to be massive, and really seeing how you can get a huge change in your life by simply cutting it out, and then finding the ways to come back and integrate this stuff. So changing your phone habits, changing your computer habits, changing maybe your video game habits, and changing, the habits of how you connect with other people, changing habits about, how you spend your free time. All of this is really going to help substantially with your mental health. And it's going to take a little bit to see some of the gains. Yeah, it's a little bit tough to, maybe get rid of some of this stuff. However, once you start to get into that zone where it's easy to do it, your life will really start changing quite dramatically, and you'll have a lot more free time than actually most people. And if you are looking for another way to maybe improve your mental health, diet is a huge way that you can improve your mental health. And I would recommend checking out my video. It's a simple, easy, tasty breakfast that is very healthy. And this would be a really good start to help you improve your mental health through your gut health. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.